Hi everybody, how's everything going? Today, I'm going to tell you something. This year has been a year where a lot of big companies have just kind of pushed out expansions and stuff like that. But this is one company that I'm very impressed with, and it's Greenbrier Games, because not only did they give me Heavy Steam, they've now given me Yashima, Legends of the Kami Masters. And let's take a look at this fantastic game. I mean, I'm absolutely, completely blown away with it. I got it on a whim. I didn't know anything about the Kickstarter last year, and I saw it in retail, and I decided that this was something that I was going to add. And forgive me for my voice. Again, I'm not feeling very well. I'm kind of sick. And but I really wanted to talk about this today and get this video up. I decided to open it up today and just take a look at it, and I have to tell you, this is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. The art, and I'm not a big guy, I'm more about gameplay, so you don't have to put a lot of flash and bang there. If it's something that I really like, I will invest the time and I will play it. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing. It's all about fun for me. But I have to tell you this game is absolutely gorgeous. Now, a lot of you know or watch my channel know that I paint a lot of figures. I'm a board gamer, I'm a miniatures player. I just love playing games, period. But these are some of the best miniatures I've ever seen, and I can honestly tell you, the 4 figures that come with this game, I am definitely, they are crying out to be painted, and I want to do justice and show you each. I mean, this is what you get in this game. I mean, just unbelievable. Here's another guy. This guy, I wish I could tell you his name. I can't off the top of my head, because I've just been reading and reading, and I've just been taken with this game. I can tell you this is Kenta, and I mean, just look at this. They're big figures. And what they do is they do battle. You can play 2 to 4 players. Now, these tiles, this is another thing that I'm just absolutely blown away with. You fight on these tiles. And I mean, just look at the quality. I mean, another masterpiece by Greenbrier. I mean, they are just a very underrated company, and I think they deserve, some attention, and that's why I'm making this video. I'm not doing a Kickstarter or anything like that for them. I have no affiliation. I just like talking about companies that really do a nice job. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. And it's very, very unique, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Mage Knight, which I thought is one of my favorite games of all time. And I've yet to do a video of it. Excuse me for a second. Oh, nothing like a little water there. Now, what happens is, depending on how many players you have, you can play 2 players or 4 players. And I believe there's going to be some expansions where you can even make the game even bigger. Each of you will take one of these tiles. There'll already be a predetermined tile out, and then you would add your own tile. Now, you'd be a certain distance from each other. Now, the tiles have certain kind of abilities on them. Some make you move faster. Some help you with karma, which we'll talk about. Some also give you health back. There's road terrain. There's deadly terrain. There's relic terrain. Okay, it helps you adjust your focus. Rejuvenation terrain, which is right here actually. Let me show you some of these tiles to give you a better look, so you guys get a good look at it. This is road terrain, so you actually go faster, and we'll talk about speed and everything like that. This is arduous terrain, which is very hard to move through. You have to spend 2 your speed to get through this particular hex. This here is deadly terrain, so you would actually lose health going through that terrain. And then there's let's see if we can find some. Oh, here we go. I mean, look at these tiles. Absolutely gorgeous. This is a rejuvenation terrain. That's where you can, if a master uses their tome action to focus while occupying the rejuvenating terrain, they may heal. And we'll talk about healing too. And then there's also solid terrain, which you just can't go through. Now, another unique feature is that each figure has their own card, and you can see that this is just absolute beautiful art. I'm going to try to show you as much as I can. This is a Kiko, and this is Kenta, which we have on the other side here, so I'll just put his cards right here just so we know that that's Kenta. Hikaru, Samu. Oh, let's turn this over so you see him. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. And each character comes with some special cards. And you can see that, we'll talk about this in a little bit, that they have different type of abilities and fates and chain abilities and attack abilities. So you really have to be kind of strategic. But we'll talk about that real soon. The other thing that each character gets is a tome, which is really, really, really interesting. And it's like a book. You open it up, and as you can see, this is page 1 of the tome, and then page 2 and page 3 of the tome. And each one of them has a different ability. The abilities are powered by karma, something that we'll talk about very soon. Now, once you pick your character, or whoever you decide that you're going to go with, and just for this example, I'm going to show you a Kiku, excuse me, my voice is going with me. You would take her card, which is her player card, and if you look at her player card, she starts with 2 karma. I'm going to make sure that this adjusts in there. Her hand size is 4. Now, your hand size is very, very limited. Some of the other players only get maybe 3 or 2 cards. And her speed is 3. So those are her abilities. I mean, her hand, her speed, and her karma. But she also has an extra special ability underneath. Exert. All adjacent masters gain burn status. Now, we'll talk about that in a bit as well. Now, underneath, there are a bunch of special cards that are assigned just to her. And some of them just do some really nasty things. Ring of Embers, Molten Palm, Combustion, another Molten Palm, Fire Meditation, there's 2 of them in there, Wall of Flame, Fireball, she can cast a fireball, and Blaze Kiss. So obviously she's fire. Now, up here, if you look, there are 4 different decks. Okay? And what you do with the 4 different decks is you pick one, and each one of them is very, very different. You have the dragon, the tiger, the phoenix, and the Taurus. This is a very, very Japanese anime type of themed game. So you would pick one, you would take your player's cards and mash them together, and you would shuffle these together, and that would make your deck. Now, your deck is also your life. If you run out of this, you're dead. But the funny thing, in a 4-player game, that if something happens to you, okay, you turn over and you're restored. You can't win the game, but you can probably help your teammate and just kind of cause havoc and try to take somebody with you. So that's a neat little feature. Even though you lose, you're not really out of the game. You're playing till the bitter end. But in a 2-player game, once you lose your life, you're done. That's it. Now, once you have your life squared away and everything put together, you have to determine on your attack and what you're going to do for that particular phase. And you have these tokens that are attack and move. Okay, now in a two-player game, okay, because you always have to have double the amount of tokens out there, there is a move and attack already out there. Okay, then each player would take a token and decide, okay, which side they want to do, and they would hide it from the other player. So when it came time to reveal, you would reveal, and possibly you would have 3 attacks. Now you could plan this out thinking that somebody else is going to try to move or attack, and maybe just play a move. But if you have the first player, you get to choose which you want to do. So say there's 2 moves and 2 attacks. The first player says, well, I want to move. They would take the move, and then they would apply their move. A speed of 3. 1, 2, 3. Then if they wanted to attack, the next person would go and say they wanted to move. 1, 2, and 3. Now there's 2 attacks left. Now there could come a situation where there's just 3 moves and 1 attack. You may not be able to get to attack this turn. You may just be able to move a couple times. But you also have to plan where you move, because a lot of these cards, if you look, have certain types of ability. So if you wanted to fire at that person, it has to be within this arc, or this particular arc, or only in this arc. So maybe you're right here. Well, guess what? You may just have a card. This may be your only attack card in your hand, but you can't apply it because the person is not in the space that it would actually occupy and do damage to. And it's very simple. Okay. The attack value, once you cast an attack, it does 4. So 4 attack means that you would discard 4 cards from this particular pile. So let's go over the steps of an entire round, and this will give you a good idea of what's going on in this game, and hopefully you guys will understand this and run out and buy this right away and support this great game. The first round is your destiny phase, and that's where we had already talked about right before anything happens. There has to be 2 tokens. It has to be double the amount of players. So there's a move and an attack out already. So then we would decide, and the 2 players would put down, and let's just say that there's two moves and 2 attacks. Okay. Then there's the reconcile step, which is you use that to then draw up to your hand value. Now her hand value is a 4, as we said, so we're going to draw up 4 cards, and I'll just put them here like so. Now remember, when you're drawing cards out of your hand, that is taking away life. Now the next step is the initiative step. Who has the initiative to grab one of these tokens first? Now each player, what they'll do is they will pull it up and they will go by their karma number. So she has a karma 4, and we're going to say that Kendu has a karma of 3, so she's going to get to go first. Okay, and let's say that we've already played a couple of rounds. Now let's talk about the battle phase, because this is the thing that really makes this very, very interesting. Now there's a couple of things. You can only perform one of the following 3 things when you make a tome action on your turn. Now focus. Place the top card of your battle deck into your karma pool face up. This action also triggers relics and rejuvenating terrain effects. So if you're there, it'll affect them. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn that up, and now we have a karma of 12. Okay? Okay, if we wanted to do that. If we wanted to get more karma, because say we had something in our hand that cost a lot, we can add to our initiative, and we can turn over 1 card and say, okay, now I have 12, and I can play something that maybe has a high karma value of 8 or something. And that you're going to go by what's in your hand, because that's how you pay the cost of the cards in your hand, is through karma. But that's one step. That's only one step, and you can only make one of these actions per turn. The other thing is to delve. Okay, you start with page 1, okay? But say you don't want to use Rain of Fire, okay? Which is the thing, and you want to turn to page 2, all right, in your tome. Well, to do that, that's going to cost you your 1 action. Now, there's certain parts on the board that on a relic, it can make you turn 2 pages of a of a tome. But not only can you turn your own, but you can be really nasty and turn somebody else's page. Say you see that they have something in there, you go, boy, if I get hit with that, that's going to really do some damage on me. I don't even want to face that. Turn that back. I'm on this particular tome here, and you can't. I'm going to use this ability, and I'm going to make you turn your tome 2 pages. So you can actually see what they have, and you can move and react and cause damage to other people by taking them out of their game plan. You can play 1 karma ability. Also, you may play 1 karma ability indicated by the karma cost next to the game text. Okay, so that would get you to pay 1 of your karma abilities, which is right here. You can actually pay for it. So you can use this karma. Say you have 4 here, and this costs 4, and you want to use Moth of Flame, you would have to pay this cost. So that's how you would be able to use the karma ability, is you would have to use that with basically whatever you had turned over for that turn, because at the end of the turn what happens is these cards go back under your deck, so you do not lose them. Okay, it's only when you lose life is when you discard, and that will take you out of your thing. But say for battle's sake, we're within a certain amount of distance, and we decided to pay more karma. We don't want to use any of these abilities here, and we have our hand here, and we want to cast a fireball. Okay, and what a fireball does is it costs 3 karma. It causes 6 attack, which would cause that person to lose 6 cards, and it gives them the burn ability. Okay, you would have to pay karma to lose those at the beginning of a turn. So there may be times where you would have to use your karma. You can never roll karma over. So say you had 12 karma here, but you only use 6 of it. You can't roll it over into the next turn. You have to use it right then and there. So she decides that with the 12, I'm going to use 3 of it to cast this out of my hand, and you can only do 1 of these at a time, and I'm going to use my attack action, okay, because I get 1 action, and I'm going to cast this fireball, and it's going to do 6 attack. Well, Kenji, he gets to play out of his hand 1 card if he has a defense shield. So if you have a card with a defense shield, and you can see this says Clash, and underneath there's some text. Okay, Clash. Lose this card, which means you would have to discard it, so you lose 1 life. Attacker and you exert, means you lose 1. You discard a card, so you would take the top card and you would put it in your discard. That's what exert means. If your card has a higher karma than the attacker, prevent all damage. So you would be able to prevent all 6 damage, because your karma would have been higher than the fireball's karma. Well, if it was, but it's not. Since it's tied, you put in otherwise, prevent only 4 damage. So he would take 2 damage, and this card would be not discarded, but it goes back into the bottom of the deck, of the life deck, so you do not lose it. So we covered that. Movement, it's very simple. Then the other person would go and say he wanted to move away. He can move his value away. Then, there would be attack, and maybe she wants to move closer because everything she has is out of range. And then he can use attack. Or if there were 2 moves, she would move, and then he couldn't attack because there's not a move token out there. So you can maybe go through a whole round without even attacking. Also on the back, they have special abilities, and when I said burn, if he hit that with him, he would take a burn token and put it onto his character. And this, a master or space cannot have more than one instance of burn status during the initiative step. If a master with burn status reveals karma of 5 or higher, they remove the burn status. That's the only way you can get rid of it. They would have to turn over a karma card and hopefully have a 5 or higher or more of karma to remove any kind of status effects that you may attribute, because each master and each deck does different things. There's burn, blind, spirit, rancor, which is pretty nasty unto itself. We won't go into that too much. Go out and get the game, please. Otherwise, they take 1 damage. And again, taking damage, you're trying to whittle down that other person's deck while fighting each other. So, you know, you really look at this game. This is a beautiful game. And I saw a video earlier about this game, and I was kind of disappointed because the person, you know, obviously was just kind of rushing through it. I'm not going to say who, because that's not who I am. But there is a beautiful story included in this. It gives you a great story. It gives you some great background. It's beautifully illustrated. I'm telling you, anything that this Briar Games... I never got Apocalypse Z or whatever the heck that game was. I never got it. But I did go out and get Heavy Steam, and I was so impressed with how they put that together. And then I got this, and I didn't even realize it was the same company. I'm telling you right now, anything they put out, I'm going to buy from this point on. If they're going to put this kind of effort into their games, I mean, this is just a great game. I really think that everybody would it's a good board game. It's a good miniature game. It's a good combination of both. You get a good feel for it. And if you paint those up, let me tell you something. That board's really going to pop. Now, the other thing is that there's stories about each master. And I'm going to show you. It tells you everything that you could possibly want to know about these characters, and gives you a nice, rich background. So when you go out there and you have a great feel for them, and it tells the story. Then it tells you about the decks, how many cards are each deck. Some decks have more cards, but they're more of a defensive deck. Each deck is different and does different things. Gives you a beautiful map and tells you about the world it's in. And in the back here, for some of the it gives you a glossary, because some of the words that they use actually can like imprint. It tells you how to use imprint, and what it means, and so forth and so on. So really very well put together. And on this side, it looks like they are coming out with 2 more expansions for this, and you can count me in. I'll tell you right now, and when I get them, I'm going to do a demo of them, and I'll tell you, you have a snow world coming, and it looks like Legend of the Deep Woods. So you can add more and more players. So this game can get pretty big, where you can have maybe 4 to 6 players going at it, or you can just have 2 people and controlling 2 different players, or 3 different players. When the expansions come out. I'm sold on this game. I think this is a beautiful game. Do me a favor. I hope this helps make a decision for you. Every card comes with an ability card, and on the back it gives you how to play each round. Forgive me for my voice and everything, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you run out and get this fantastic game. Thanks for watching this, and we'll do some more playthroughs, hopefully, if I can feel a little bit better. It's Saturday night, and boy, I'll tell you, I'm hurting pretty good. So I think that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching this, and we'll talk to you soon, folks.